rental and set aside 20% of the demolished units in the new building as affordable up to 80% of AMI.
Saying the debate on the Ellis Act has been a good one, Councilmember Wendy Gruhl claims it's about supply and demand and talks about the related transportation issues.
This is an issue that I think we've had a good debate for many months when we've talked about Ellis Act issues, and particularly I think that the discussion and trying to deal with the mom and pops to deal with the issue of ensuring we create more affordable housing. As we discussed yesterday when we were considering our budget and the Housing Trust Fund, and we looked at how do we deal with a crisis, and it is about supply and demand. It is the need for us to create more supply, and when we fought for the Measure H on the November ballot, one of the things I talked about as chair of Transportation Committee was the fact that if we don't create affordable housing in our communities here in Los Angeles, people will be buying outside of our city or renting outside of our city and having to drive through, which we never get any of the benefits. We only get all the problems associated with that. Traffic, environmental issues, and the fact that the people are driving through our neighborhoods and our communities. And so I think that as we looked at this issue, and I think Mr. Rosendahl and myself have the most impacted area of where we are seeing, particularly have seen buildings being torn down, not the condo conversion of an existing apartment building going to condo, but the tearing down of units. And in some areas, again, it's a dilapidated building that has been there and there's some improvement that occurs, but what we're finding, particularly in Studio City, is the lack of affordable housing, that no one really can afford to live there.
Referring to the closing of the loophole, District 15 Council Member Janice Hahn says we are losing more affordable housing than we're building, and once it's gone, it's gone.
I actually think this is a great step for the city of Los Angeles. I think it's a great victory for tenants who are living in affordable housing units in the city of Los Angeles. And while we listen to all the concerns, I mean, for me, the facts really speak very loud about why we need to do this. I mean, we are losing more affordable housing units in this city than we're able to, obviously, to build. In 2005, we were able to construct 1,000 units of affordable housing, but we lost 2,118 units. In 2006, we built 1,263 units of affordable housing, but 2,068 were demolished. And someone gave me the example of the rainforest. I mean, once the rainforest is gone, it's gone. We will never be able to have that resource again. And that's the way it is with affordable housing units. Once they're gone, they're gone. And we were losing ground in terms of providing that for our residents of Los Angeles.
Eric Garcetti stands to make clarification on several points contained in the motion.
We had one misstatement in terms of the mechanism under option A, and it was a mistake that I made as well last time. If you have an 8-unit building and you go to 20, all 20 are rent stabilized, not just 8 replacement units. So I want to state that very clearly on the record, but it jumps up to market rate. Again, we had the option of whether it would stay at the previous rental level or go up to market rate, and that was the compromise that was arrived at. But it's not just to replace those, it's to make sure that what's built in the physical locale of that place stays rent stabilized, not rent controlled. That is the package before us. Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
That is approved. Thank you very much.
District 7 Council Member Richard Alarcon, who sits on the Rules and Elections Committee, introduces item number 43, a report that would create an ad hoc committee on ending poverty in Los Angeles. Mr. Alarcon, who chaired a similar committee when he served in the state Senate, says he is committed to come back with a plan that not only includes city government addressing poverty, but has the business community, the social services community, and the faith-based community working together to end poverty.
The federal census will tell you that 810,000 Angelenos live in poverty each and every day. But that undermines the reality, which is that to be self-sustaining in Los Angeles, you have to earn about $54,000 a year with a family of 4. The federal poverty level is at $18,000 to $19,000 a year for that same family of 4. So the reality is that to be a self-sustaining member of Los Angeles, you have to earn $54,000. The reality is that more than 1 million people, far more than 1 million, probably closer to 2 million people in Los Angeles are living day to day without being able to sustain themselves with their own personal economics. So this is absolutely essential to Los Angeles. My commitment is that we will come back with a plan that suggests ways that not just the city government can address poverty, but the ways the business community, the social service community, the faith-based community can come together to work with us on how to end poverty. I also commit to you that I don't want you to stop any of the other efforts that you're doing to reduce poverty. This is specific to developing a master plan, and in fact, hopefully will enhance your efforts, and hopefully we can work together to produce a master plan that incorporates your thoughts and ideas and the work that you are doing in your various committees on issues like homelessness and health care and all the other things. So I thank you in advance for your support of this measure. I want to thank Council members Wesson and Gruhl for agreeing to serve on the committee, and I'm very thankful that we can put this kind of energy forward for the city of Los Angeles. The state of California, by virtue of Assemblymember Ma, has agreed to allow us to be the lead in Los Angeles for the master plan that they are developing, and so we can coordinate to develop a master plan not just for Los Angeles, but with the state of California that will be a model for the nation in how to address poverty well into the future. So I want to thank you in advance for your support. Thank you.
Addressing the new chairman of the Ad Hoc Committee on Ending Poverty in Los Angeles, District 11 Council Member Bill Rosendahl asks about Mr. Alarcon's goals and objectives for the committee.
Poverty in our nation is getting greater. The rich are getting richer, zillionaires are being created, and we have a farcical minimum wage in Washington. They barely raise it, and we out here talk about a living wage. Some of us were fighting hard for a living wage in a group of hotels along Century Boulevard. When you think of this committee, I mean, this is the committee of the committee. When you think of the real reality of what we're dealing with, how do you see you functioning in this milieu, in this reality, and what are your goals and objectives with this particular ad hoc committee?
First of all, I don't have a problem with the rich getting richer, but I'd like to see the poor get out of poverty. And so I think that there's a balance, there's a harmony that must be created in that equation. First of all, we need to upgrade the quality of jobs and the pay and the wages and benefits that the workers receive so that they can infuse our consumer-driven economy with more dollars, and the rich, therefore, will continue to get richer. We shouldn't think of fixing poverty on the backs of the wealthy. We should think about how to create the harmony that would stimulate a greater economy that we have not seen today. Our educational system is critical, and that's why we applaud the mayor for his focus on improving the education system, and we too welcome that opportunity. Health care, the issues of health care have to be addressed, and that's why I say this master plan cannot be wholly encompassed on issues that the city is directly related to. We have to look outside of our circle in order to really bring all the pieces together for a master plan to end poverty in California. My personal opinion on any of these subjects will not undermine everybody else's opinion. We absolutely need the input of many collaborators throughout the city of Los Angeles who have dedicated their lives to work to end poverty, and also those who want to contribute now.
Well, getting beyond the rhetoric here, my friend, the reality is minimum wages and living wages and unions and fighting and capitalism. These are the big issues of America, and I just don't know how this committee finds itself able to function within that mix when we do know that we have given super tax cuts to the super rich, which was unconscionable. We also do know that unions get bashed at every street corner, and yet it is a special interest of the people's interest. We know that living wages and a better minimum wage are key. What can this committee do other than talk about it?
Well, quite frankly, I don't want to fall into the same trappings of the liberal rhetoric. We have a pragmatic system. We do have a capitalist system. So in that context, how can we move forward with an agenda that recognizes that poverty is undermining everybody's opportunity? It's undermining our gross product. And I believe we can craft a master plan that addresses all the issues, raises all the ships. The reason I hesitate to get into any specifics is because I do not want to impose my personal point of view on a master plan that is going to incorporate many points of view, and want people to feel free to come in with whatever their opinions might be, so that we can draft a wholly encompassed master plan that isn't singularly focused on one opinion of one council member.
Okay, no, I appreciate that very much, frankly, and I think it's a great moment for you to put some focus on it. But I'm not naive here. We don't have health care for our American people because the insurance companies have strangulated that special interest process. 31% of every health care dollar goes to the insurance company. These are fundamental issues of fairness that the nation needs to address in the state, and I'm thrilled that you want to take it on at this local level here, but we're going to need all levels of government, and we're going to need a heck of a bigger platform than an ad hoc committee to talk about homelessness.
And that's why I mentioned the collaboration with the state of California. I think that's a critical piece. And again, it's not about government. It's about our system as a whole. How do we make all the parts work toward ending poverty?
Right. Okay. Well, thank you for your.
By the way, I should also say that as items come up, we're not going to wait till a master plan comes out. We will be introducing motions as issues arise, relative specifically to issues on poverty.
Well, what would be great is if you could get some of that stuff out before February next year, when all these characters who want to be our next president, that you can take some of these proposals and some of these suggestions and make it into a national dialogue in a presidential election, which we in California will have an impact.
Well, having said that, it reminds me when I educated a presidential candidate in the last go-around about the formula for defining poverty in the United States, which needs to be changed. It's based on a simple statement that 3 times the cost of food is the per family per year is the poverty rate, so that the same formula is used in Alabama and Georgia as is used in Los Angeles, and we all know that it doesn't factor in the cost of transportation, child care, and a high cost of housing.
Thank you. That is our last speaker. Let's go ahead and open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved.
The Rules and Elections Committee report that would create an ad hoc committee on ending poverty in Los Angeles was approved by your Los Angeles City Council. The committee will convene for 18 months, at which time it will present a report on its progress. You can listen to City Council meetings as well as committee and commission meetings on the telephone by using the city's council phone system. In the downtown area, dial 213-621-CITY. In West LA, dial 310-471-CITY. For the San Pedro area, dial 310-547-CITY. And in the San Fernando Valley, dial 818-904-9450. Just follow the recorded instructions for the meetings you want to hear. Watch Council Week in Review for highlights of the week's council meetings and listen for item numbers associated with those discussions you have an interest in. Then go to the World Wide Web, listen to them in their entirety using the new City of Los Angeles Video on Demand feature. Visit the city's website, lacity.org, and follow the instructions on the screen. Remember, you can also watch Los Angeles City Council meetings live in their entirety on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays beginning at 10 a.m. On Sundays, you can watch the replay of all the week's meetings beginning at 10 a.m. That concludes our program for the week ending May 25th, 2007. On behalf of Jack Popejoy and everyone here at Channel 35, I'm Gil Reyes. Thank you for watching, and please join us for the next Council Week in Review.
Hey, buddy! You with the stupid hat. Come here. Closer. No parking! Do you know what happens when you park illegally on these narrow hillside streets? You block the street so emergency vehicles can't pass. Each year, homes are destroyed and lives are lost because of drivers like you who park illegally! And you know what else? You can get a citation. And you can be towed.
Help us get to the emergency. The life we save just might be yours.
How'd you know?
The ball called.
Hey, look out for the pothole.
much of who we are. It's easy to take it for granted. Multiple sclerosis stops people from moving. We exist to make sure it doesn't. Join the movement, the National Multiple Sclerosis Society, at nationalmssociety.org.
LA City View Channel 35. Your city, your channel.
Good morning, Los Angeles, and welcome to the City Council meeting for May 29th, 2007. We are here in City Council Chambers, John Ferraro Memorial Council Chambers, room 340 of City Hall, where we meet every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. I'm Council President Eric Garcetti, joined by my colleagues, Council Members Cardenas, Huizar, Labange, Parks, Perry, Wesson, and Zine. We have 8 members and are awaiting 2 more members to constitute the bare quorum, or 10 or 2/3 of our body to begin the meeting. We are broadcast live on Channel 35 for each meeting. I want to thank our viewers who are tuning in. We are broadcast live and then rebroadcast in the evenings. We are also available online, both live through streaming webcast video at our city's homepage at lacity.org, our award-winning web portal, and also you can pull down now on demand any of our council meetings where there is archived video of each of our full council meetings. Finally, if you're not close to a television or a computer, you can always call in using your telephone and listen to the proceedings of the City Council. And that number is 213-621-CITY. It's a service called Council Phone in which you can dial through the menu. Again, 213-621-CITY, and listen to the proceedings of the full City Council or any of our committee meetings. A schedule of the Los Angeles City Council calendar, including our committee meeting times and our council meeting times and locations, as well as our agendas, are available also online at lacity.org, and just click on the council link. Those are also available in person at the city clerk's office and here in council chambers. Our city agendas, our council agendas, are split into 2 sections, one for items which have not yet had a public hearing, and if members of the audience would like to be heard on those items, feel free to fill out a card in the back and to give it to one of the sergeants at arms, and we will take your comments. The other items have already had a public hearing. Every item will either have a public hearing in committee or in council, and it requires a reopening of those hearings in order to have public speakers on those items. Finally, if you would like to be heard on general public comment, which is for items which are not on the agenda but are nevertheless under our jurisdiction, you can also fill out a speaker card in the back and hand it to one of the sergeants at arms to be heard as well. I want to thank the council members who are here on time pursuant to council rules. Again, council members Cardenas, Huizar, Labange, Parks, Perry, Wesson, and Zine are here. Our own council rules state that our council meetings will begin at 10 a.m. It is now past that hour. We are awaiting Councilmember Alarcon, Councilmember Hahn, Councilmember Reyes, Councilmember Rosendahl, Councilmember Smith, and Councilmember Weiss. We also would ask, thank you, Councilmember Alarcon. We now are 1 shy of a quorum. We also would commend to folks the public comment rules for giving public testimony, which are stated right there on the lectern, and also there is a timer to help people budget their time. Speakers may speak up to 5 minutes on items which are on the agenda, in addition to their 2 minutes for general public comment. Thank you and for your patience as we await Councilmember Hahn, Councilmember Reyes, Councilmember Rosendahl, Councilmember Smith, and Councilmember Weiss to begin our meeting. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alarcon, Cardenas, Gruel, Hahn, Huizar, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weiss, Wesson, Zine, Garcetti. 11 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business, please.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Labange moves and Mr. Parks seconds without objection. Those will be approved.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Smith moves and Mr. Reyes seconds without objection. Those 2 will be approved. Next order of business.
Mr. President, this is Tuesday, and there is a flag salute agendized for today's meeting.
I know that many of us took part yesterday in Memorial Day celebrations and commemorations throughout the city and throughout this country. I know Mr. Labange was at Forest Lawn. Mr. Rosendahl was over at the National Cemetery. Mr. Huizar led a very moving ceremony as well at Cinco Puntos in Boyle Heights. And we played a little bit of music as well. Mr. Labange mentioned how moving it was to hear many of the anthems played yesterday, and we thank you for bringing that music in. So in honor of that, Mr. Labange, would you be kind enough to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yeah,
and if I could ask everyone in chambers to please rise.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. If John Kirk Buckery, a Navy officer, our great General Manager of Recreation and Parks, may I pass the baton and lead us in the pledge, John?
Everyone, please rise. Honor America and those serving overseas, defending our freedom. Put your right hand over your heart. Please repeat over me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Muckery. Next order of business, please.
Mr. President, do you wish to take up public comment at this time?
Let's run through the agenda first.
On the regular agenda, item 1 is an item notice for public hearing.
Okay. We have a card, so we will call that special. Next items.
Items 2 through 14 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Okay. Colleagues, 2 through 14. Any special items? 2 through 14. Mr. Cardenas? Nope. So 2 for Mr. Parks. Any other specials, colleagues? Seeing none, let's go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Those are approved. Next items, please.
Items 15 through 21 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration. Item 15 is confirmation of a city official. Do you wish to hold that on the desk?
We'll hold that on the desk. 15. Next items.
And there actually are cards on items 17, 20, and 21.
Okay, we'll call those special for cards from the public. That leaves 16, 18, and 19. Anybody wishing to call any of those special? 16, 18, and 19? Seeing none, let's take those up together. Please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Those are approved. Picked up 2 votes quickly there. Next items, please.
On the supplemental agenda, items 22 through 24 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, we do have cards on 22 and 24. So we'll call those special for cards from the public. Item number 23, does anybody wish to call that special?
Special, Mr.
23, Mr. Weezar. Okay. And that will take us back to public comment?
Yes, Mr. President.
Okay. I'd like to ask folks to come forward. Again, remind folks of the rules that are there on the lectern, and ask first. We'll have Zuma Dog, and then we'll go out to Van Nuys for Donna Perlman, and Miriam Fogler. Mr. Dog?
Yes, good morning, City Council. As you can see, I got another reality crew. They wanted to document Zuma Dog as he's at City Hall, and boy, did they pick a day, because we got something. Boy, the straw broke the camel's back this weekend. First of all, City Council, our good friend Kevin James from KABC, he is back on 870 KRLA, 9 p.m. So I'd like you to please listen to him, because he talks a lot about city issues, and I call in all the time. Kevin James, tonight at 9 p.m. on 870 KRLA, and I'll be talking about something. I would like a motion, City Council. We have a big problem with the neighborhood council system. Now, I appreciate Carol Baker Tharp. I like her a lot. She's been put in charge of trying to, clean up neighborhood council and fix the system. However, I understand that we have Jose Weezar, his planning deputy, Suzanne McLean, his planning deputy from the Eagle Rock. His paid staffer, Jose Weezar's paid staffer of City Council, is on the Neighborhood Council, and she sits on the Committee of Government Relations. Okay, boy, that's some relationship. She works for you, Carol Baker Tharp said she wants to do more outreach and help neighborhood councils do more outreach. That's good, but that doesn't mean put city council staffers on the council. Okay, what if you want to get some public input to neighborhood council, and you say, I got a problem with this development in Jose Weezar's district? Well, gee, you're going to have a tough time, because she works for Jose Weezar. It's like talking to Jose Weezar. If she has some input she wants to give him, tell her to just call her boss, Jose Weezar. She works for him. So I'd like City Council right now to make a motion to see if we have any leaders here in Los Angeles City Council. Now, the city is saying that, gee, Zuma Dog, it's not against the law. The city attorney, we checked, and you're allowed to sit on City Council as a paid staffer and also sit on Neighborhood Council. There's no law against it? Well, let's make a law right now, okay? I'd like to see, do we have any leaders here? I want a motion that if you're a paid council member, if you're a paid staffer of Los Angeles City Council, you can't sit on Neighborhood Council. Does anybody see how ridiculous that is? So I'd like to see a motion for that right now. And go to mayorsam.blogspot.com, because there's a lot of things. mayorsam.blogspot.com. I'll be calling Kevin James on 8 Zuma Dog.
Our next speaker is Donna Perriman, out in San Fernando Valley.
Here I am. I am an unhappy member of the Guard City fan club, because you shouldn't cut off my friend Miriam on Friday. And you better watch out, because someone might take your presidency for you. Anyway, I was correcting my good friend Miriam. I called you congressman the last time, and you're councilman. It's been blinded by your own pay raises. Another in July. What a good life. Why does the city trust any project done by the CRA? It should be called the CDA, California Destruction Agency. They don't believe in greenery, don't believe in single-family homes, don't believe in the character of a town. All they believe in is huge, ugly, big development and new modern art and dumb names like NoHo. What's that? No Hollywood? All they care about is money for their pockets and buying the city council, seeing huge, big Grand Avenue projects go up. I hope they really get sued, because we need to get rid of the CRA. I support the suit against the CRA. If you have any guts, you will look at the CRA and scrutinize their actions. Don't just close the roll, tabulate the vote, 12 ayes. CRA doesn't have the right to force people to move, even if it's only one on the block that says no to big development, no to eminent domain. I say no to the CRA. We don't need huge, big mini malls. We don't need huge parking lots. We don't need big condos that tear down small homes. We don't need big skyscrapers, some to entice terrorists. I guess someone like Los Angeles, I guess, maybe they'll stay at the Hollywood Hilton. Stop, city council, stop big development. You need to stop passing all these laws that believe in big development that cost millions of dollars, causing streets to close, causing huge traffic buildup, waiting for these atrocities to be built. Hell, it wasn't built in a day, you know. Council members, I know you care about us. I've seen it. When you talked about the new pet law and you're concerned about the animals and pet owners not getting unfairly taxed, I've seen you stop and study bad laws, yet you don't study the CRA. Please study the CRA. Don't do any projects by them.
Thank you very much, Donna. Our next speaker is Miriam Fogler. Good morning.
Good morning. You know, that's unconstitutional to limit the person speaking 5 minutes a whole day. The 2 minutes you give everybody on agendas, and I'm going to continue to speak what is necessary. That's for the good of our city and good for the United States of America. And I've been brought up very patriotic, very, very much, and I'm not going to take no limits on my freedom. Unless of course, I use profanity. That's uncalled for, and I would never like to do that. I like to be courteous and kind and nice, but I'm going to let you know that passing trash fees and raising our water rates is because you're allowing the CRA to take all our tax increment money away. I don't see the account receivables coming back to the city. We should be taking over the CRA and disband it. It's a private agency working for developers, and developers are making you work for them by getting contributions. And this is the reason all this must stop. The city workers who are civil service workers are middle-class people, and police and fire also are middle class. They should not be. They should be getting COLAs just like Department of Water and Power. I was happy about them getting a raise, but you know we need to include all city workers every year, no matter what. You get your annual mandatory raise from the county municipal judges. So I don't think there's any question about it. Is that what you did to me last week, cutting me off 59 seconds? It was unconstitutional and infringement on my civil rights. I didn't do anything to cause me to have to be cut off like that. And that was very sarcastic what you did, Councilman Garcetti. I know your job is in danger because the city council is going to be voting on you in July whether you're going to keep your position there. So you better be a well-behaved boy. Thank you. And by the way, I'm leaving with 12 seconds left. They're left 10.
Thank you for the 12 seconds. We appreciate it. John Peterson, we have Marilyn Jackson as our last speaker in public comment.
Good morning, President Garcetti. I'm a representative of Johnstown area. I'm concerned about hiring personnel in civil service. I work for the federal government, the VA, 351 East Temple. Now, I had coworkers which we all took the examination, but we had nothing in common. So one coworker has a child, and she is not married. Another coworker has a child, and she's not married. Well, I've been married, and when you don't have nothing in common with coworkers, you don't associate with them on holidays, you don't send Christmas cards. So my concern is that civil service be more precise in integrating the office personnel on all levels. I think it's very important because when you don't have anything in common with somebody, you can't you don't associate with them after you retire. So I think it's very important that maybe the human resources be more selective in the office. I think it's very important that people have something in common. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jackson. That closes our general public comment. If we can return to the items called special. First one, Mr. Clerk.
Yeah, Mr. President. Item 15 is the appointment of Ms. Randy Levin as the General Manager of ITA.
Okay, why don't we go ahead and take that first? And Mr. Cardenas, we have number 15 before us, and I'd like to recognize you as Chair of the Information and Technology and General Services Committee.
Hello, good morning. I'm Randy Levin.
Mr. Cardenas.
Good morning, Randy,
Hi.
and welcome.
Thank you.
So, is it interesting so far?
It's very interesting so far.
Good, good. Can you please tell the people of Los Angeles a little bit about your history? One of the things that I found that I actually was a little bit not convinced that someone from the private sector could actually be effective in the public sector, but then when I realized who you were working for before and the amount of experience you have, et cetera, I realized that you're a great fit for the city of Los Angeles. Can you tell us a little bit about your last job?
Sure. I spent 8.5 years at NBC Universal doing information technology work as the Vice President and Group Information Officer there in the IT division. And I have had a 24-year career history in information technology. And I'm just very excited to apply everything that I've done here to the city.
Now, you actually dealt with issues, obviously information technology, keeping up upgrades, having to evaluate new systems, implementing new systems. And how big were some of the systems you actually had to implement?
Certainly the biggest was a worldwide implementation of SAP, which was in 26 countries and 15 languages around the world, approximately $75 million project, and required about a 3-year commitment and probably about, I'd say, 1,000 to 1,200 users. So it was a significant change for the whole organization.
And how did that system turn out?
It was fabulous. It's really been the basis for all of the other system projects that we continue to do at NBC.
Okay. Now, we're a city of about 40,000 employees. Not all of them need to interact with you, but in our city we have various departments, we have union representation, et cetera. Have you ever had to deal with those matters?
Absolutely. Just in terms of all the departments, certainly that's very analogous to all of the departments we had at NBC, in addition to all the countries that I had to interact with. And at NBC Universal, we had a significant amount of unions as well, particularly in the theme park areas.
Okay. So theme parks in different parts of the world or right here in the United States?
Well, the one right here in Hollywood, the one in Orlando, particularly. And then we also had a lot of union employees that worked actually at the studio lot here in Hollywood.
Okay. So the bottom line is you've had a very diverse background, specifically in IT, but also you've had to deal with management issues in and outside your department. You've had to deal with workers' issues. You had to deal with having to figure out how the lines are drawn with different interests and having to navigate through that, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. I feel very comfortable in that arena.
Okay. Well, Randy, welcome aboard, and I enjoy working with you so far, and I'm sure once my colleagues get to know you, they're really going to enjoy you as well. Thank you, Randy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Rosendahl is our next speaker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate this opportunity to speak. Good morning.
Good morning.
You know, the industry is going through a dramatic change, at least the cable television industry. Would you share with us your insight into how the phone companies are now coming in the cable business and what might also happen in Washington? Hold my time, please.
There's so much changing right now. I mean, nobody can accurately predict what's going to be happening, but technology is really going to the point where you can get video, films, TV, live, delayed whatever on any media that you have. And so by the nature of that, the convergence of the phone companies and the cable companies and the satellite companies, everything is up for grabs in terms of how content is going to be delivered and to where. And so, it behooves us to be plugged into all of those companies and into the legislature, whether it's here at the city, it's at the state level or the federal government level, to figure out where the direction is headed and how it's all going to then be regulated.
Right now, one of these viewers, if their television set went bad on them, I don't know which camera they use on me, probably that one, and how do they get the government to help them if, in fact, the cable company, Time Warner, doesn't respond today with the new law?
Well, they can call our 311 call center and actually make a complaint against Time Warner Cable, which is the predominant cable company, if they are not getting the service that they require and satisfaction from them. They can also, though, use 311 to contact us for other issues as well for the city, all non-emergency issues.
Mm-hmm. And so when you get a call from a cable customer upset, we used to call them, I was in the cable business, an irate customer, what can you do for them?
Well, right now, what I did actually last week is I met with the president of Time Warner Cable for our area, and we're establishing a process by which those complaints will be escalated and then dealt with, and it will go right to him directly.
When the phone company comes into the business, how will you interact with them from the customer service standpoint?
The same way. I mean, we're going to set up a meeting with them when they really, get in the picture in a bigger way and figure out processes and procedures for us working together.
Mm-hmm. Are they committed to having Channel 35 and 36, the interconnected channels, and having it on that placement number on their systems?
I can't speak specifically for each one, but certainly we are going to make that a focus and an emphasis, in order for them to do business with us.
Mm-hmm. Do you see the federal government coming in now and preempting the state government? That seems to be the movement.
I'm not quite sure because states really want to still have some local autonomy, and I'm not sure that that's going to be in the best interest of the state or the local governments.
What becomes of public access?
Public access. There's a lot of opinions on public access. We're debating that internally right now. We're trying to see what the effectiveness is of the current way we do public access, or whether or not we should use some new technology for public access. I mean, with the internet and the advent of internet sites like YouTube and some of those things, public access is everywhere, anywhere. So I'm not sure that actually having a station is the most effective way for public access. We're going to do some community outreach to figure out what's going to be the right mechanism for public access.
Right now, the cable company gives 5%, now an additional 1%. This additional 1%, will that go to the city first? That's about $4 million, am I right?
Yes, it is, and it's to be used for capital and not operations, and we are looking at various ways to utilize those funds, maybe to upgrade our Channel 35 that everybody's watching right now.
Who will make those decisions about that $4 million?
We're going to put together a proposal and bring it forward to the council, and we're also going to bring it forward to the mayor and try and get everybody to buy into this proposition.
Is there a group of public access users that are somewhat organized that they can present their point of view? Just parenthetically, when I ran the cable company there, I had 700 producers who produced 3,500 shows a year, and I encouraged public access as an electronic soapbox, especially in this great city. What role are the public access producers having with you in deciding where that money goes?
There have been a series, I think, of 6 to 8, there might have even been more before I came, public outreach sessions with those producers. And so we really need to meet with them and understand their requirements a little more deeply so we can figure out what kind of technology can meet their requirements.
And what do you think of Channel 36 and its future?
Channel 36, we're debating actually whether or not we should split 35 and 36, make 35 just like a local C-SPAN, which continuous coverage, and make 36 more of the informational channel for education and information on the city. So that's what we're thinking about doing, but we have to work through the details of that.
And when you work through the details, you'll take it to the committee and take it to the council, and we'll all be part
Absolutely.
of the discussion. Congratulations for stepping up to the plate on this. These are changing times, I can tell you from my own history of knowing that industry. And so you have a lot to deal with, and we look forward to hearing back from you periodically on how the changes of the new law in Sacramento impact us, what might happen in Washington, and I especially want to make sure that you share with us the future of public access.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl. Ms. Gruhl is our next speaker, then Mr. Reyes and Mr. Labange.
Thank you very much, Mr. Garcetti. Appreciate that. Good morning. Just wanted to, and glad to have you here. And I came from DreamWorks on the Universal lot, so I know just a little bit about coming from that environment. One of the questions that we always get, and particularly whether it's in Budget Committee or in Mr. Cardenas' ITA Committee, is the fact that we have all these different systems that don't talk to one another. There was a opportunity, I guess, a few years back to try to combine that, how we could work together. Just curious, was that one of the things that you found even when you were at Universal, how that occurred? Excuse me.
Yes. When I got there, it was a very analogous situation with very disparate, non-integrated systems, which caused a lot of inefficiencies in many areas. And so working together and working collaboratively, we established some committees which were able to work through a lot of those issues so that we could then put in an enterprise-wide system and then build upon that as the foundation for future applications.
I know you'll get a lot of pushback from some of our departments who sometimes have invested a lot of money into that particular system. And again, sometimes it makes sense that they are separate systems, but I think more often than not, hopefully your expertise will help us bring a citywide plan, just with even in the city of Los Angeles, our employees and our departments, and even with some of our proprietary departments. It's one of the things I'm interested as we go forward. Also on the 311 system, which has had a soft opening several years ago and never really had that hard opening. And people recommended to me, why not put them on some of our vehicles? Call 311, one call to City Hall. Interested as you come back potentially as well, and as the new general manager, to look at ways in which we can educate the public about utilization of the 311.
Certainly. And I would agree with you that we have not publicized 311 nearly as effectively as we could. And so we are developing a marketing campaign for 311 and educating the public what it is and what the benefits are now that we have staff in place and operations to support it.
One of the things I would be interested in is our kind of response time and so forth. I don't know. I know during the budget committee we talked about, how many rings does it take, how often. I'm curious as to that aspect of it, as we wanted to still have it 24/7 for people to be able to call that. There was some concern raised by my constituency when we changed over, for example, on graffiti removal. Used to they would call directly to those nonprofits for graffiti removal, and now it goes through the 311 system. And so our 311 system is only as good as the departments who respond to the requests that 311 has. And so anxious, as someone new coming in and looking ways in which we can improve that system.
Yes, we're going to have to work with every department that gets integrated into the 311 call center to not only make sure that they understand the routing of all the calls and receiving all the calls, but to obtain statistics on the actual closure of those calls, the actions taken on them, so we can be able to report them back out to the council.
Great. Well, welcome. I know you came into budget. You'd only been there 6 days. Did an excellent job, and look forward to working with you, all of us in Los Angeles, in particular in this council, because we are now using the internet. We're using our websites, all of that, to really communicate with our constituency to deliver the services. And so it's an integral part, as well as just our daily operations of being able to function. So welcome aboard. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Gruhl. Mr. Reyes is our next speaker, and then Mr. Labange.
Thank you, Council President. Good morning, Ms. Levin.
Hi.
One, I want to welcome you, and it's a real treat to hear the vast experience you have, especially in multilingual environments. Which begs the question for me is, I chair what's called the Planning, Land Use, and Management Committee. Any given week I'll have as low as 12, maybe as high as 30 cases, all land use issues. And what I find is the need to inform folks about what are the land use rights of both the property owner, the neighbor, and the city's role in determining these zoning laws. We have a wide range of neighborhood councils. Our city, 2/3 are renters. We have perhaps the largest number of people where English is not the first language. So it is not uncommon for me to have community meetings in some form of dialect in Chinese or in Spanish or another language because of the presence of who's attending. But yet I don't see our infrastructure and how we communicate to the communities reflect that particular demand. Do you see in your new role, given your background in integrating language, how we can better inform and prepare people as to how the city works, especially when it comes to land use impacts?
Yes, certainly. I mean, one of the things that we can be doing is using our internet more effectively too, to make the rules clear on what organization does what. That we can actually make that available in Spanish or other languages as well, and we need to be looking at that so that every person that lives in the city has access to the city, in whatever form they communicate in. I know we do a lot with the hearing impaired, and so I think that we should take that model. It seems to be effective, and roll that out in terms of language as well.
Is that something that you feel we should do in a motion form, or is that something that you feel could evolve within your work program as you take on this mantle?
Yes, I mean, after 5 weeks, I can't say that I'm an expert yet in this whole area, but as I get more ingrained in the department and find out what it is that we are doing, we will come back with a plan on the areas where we think that we need to provide additional language support.
And one last point, in some parts of the city, it tends to be the Ellis Island of the West, where it's the direct line of immigration flow from every part of the world almost. Yet we don't have information that allows folks to understand what is the role of this municipal government in regards to certain immigrant issues. Is that an area that we can evolve into? Because it speaks to basic services. What rights we have as tenants, dealing with garbage pickup, very fundamental issues that perhaps in other countries it's not as common.
Yes, certainly. I mean, we are a big melting pot, and I can say that our 311 call center actually answers in Spanish, and they have Spanish operators available as well. So, I think this will be a big focus for us, this year to figure out as we look at the whole area of community outreach and figuring out how that's all going to work.
Again, welcome. I've been told be careful what you ask for, but at the same time, this is a great opportunity, and I see good changes ahead of us with your leadership. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Our last speaker on the queue is Mr. LaBonge.
Thank you very much. Welcome to Los Angeles. And
thank you.
I was thinking Mr. Dobrin was my high school typing teacher, so that tells you how old I am. What kind of educational programs? Tell us a little about your youth and your college days. And I know, is this your family here?
That is my family.
Want to introduce your family? And
that's my husband, Maurice, in the yellow tie.
Good job.
My mother in the black sweater.
Hello, Mom.
My sister in the stripes.
Great.
Next to her. And my father, David, in the checkered tie.
Well, that's very welcome to Los Angeles, to the family, too. I want to welcome it. I think what's so important, and I think Mr. Reyes was starting to allude to it, the family of Los Angeles, the call, ITA, when you talk about family, provided the vital communication link for the most recent Griffith Park fire because cell sites were not available in the Greek Theater area. And John Muckery was here from the Parks Department just a minute ago. But they set up a system, which you probably were briefed on, from the valley of the Greek Theater up to the observatory and up to Mount Wilson or wherever you did it. So there's our family that we come from. There's the city family that you're in now. But tell me about your life as a student in growing up, and what interested you in this area to achieve such a prominent position? You could hold my time there, please.
Well, it's interesting that my mother is here because she is the one that I'm going to credit with going into computers. I actually was a music major in college on a music scholarship, playing the French horn, and my French horn professor sat down with me my freshman year and said, there's only 5 major symphonies in the country. They take 4 French horns. How long do you want to live with your parents? And so, seeing the reality, I went home and called my parents, and my mother said, they're starting computers now. It looks like it's going to be a growing field. You're good in math. Why don't you try that? And then pretty much the rest is history. I switched into the business college, and all my career has been in IT. So it was really very, very good advice. I have 2 children. One of them particularly very interested in technology. Well, they both are, but particularly our son is very interested in utilizing technology specifically to aid his homework. So I am pretty familiar with what's going on in technology just around the youth. One thing I want to talk about is we're doing a joint program this summer with UCLA. Where they pay for 20 high school students to come in. They spend 2 weeks with them, training them on just how to work in a work environment. And then the remaining 6 weeks, they come to us, and we spend 6 weeks training them in some area of technology. And we hope next year to really widely expand the program so that we can take in more kids, because I think it's really critical.
That's great. And where did you grow up?
11 years in New York, in Queens, and 10 years in Phoenix, and then predominantly the rest of the time here, for the exception of 2 years in New York with my husband.
Where'd you go to high school in Phoenix?
Sunny Slope High School.
Sunny Slope. And what college did you go to?
University of Arizona.
So you're a Wildcat.
I'm a Wildcat, yes.
That's okay. That's all right. That's good. My philosophy is information is knowledge is power. And I think in following up to what Mr. Reyes said about the multilingual challenges of Southern California, Los Angeles, of finding ways to reach out to people, on the 3rd floor over by the clerk's office where you will be sworn in officially right there, there's a box called Ask Pat. You familiar with that box?
No,
It's an ITA box where you're supposed to ask Pat all that information about where everything is. And I maybe we should upgrade it and, just say empowerment, in multi-languages, just to get people to go there like a bank, to be able to go. And make sure all our libraries, we have a great librarian, Fontaine Holmes. I don't know if you met her, but...
yes, we're actually going to sit down next week to talk about some integrated programs between IT and the libraries.
Yeah, libraries are great. I believe they're great community information centers, resource centers, our recreation and parks facilities, some with buildings, are great opportunities to connect people and empower people. I do like what you said about that small, only 20 children, but how we could enlighten them. And I am old school, in the sense I'm still learning the computer, but it's amazing how my children who are 11 and 9 fix everything, know everything, they know how to do it. So it's a process. I did want to ask on the Channel 35, Mr. Rosendahl was so good on that. How do you get it on the satellite? Because not all of us have cable.
Yes, DirecTV is the primary carrier, and we're in the process of trying to set up a meeting right now with DirecTV because we feel that 35 only reaches about 45% of the community via Time Warner Cable.
But they got the Board of Supervisors, and there's 5 of them. We're 15, right, Herb? So 15 outruns 5, so although they're a stronger entity than that. I ran into Zevit, Beverly, and Alvarado this morning coming into town. But anyway, if you could look at that, because I think it would reach out a little bit more, because cable has changed drastically on that. So
yes, definitely. We think that's critical.
And on the 311, I know Ms. Gruhl spoke about that issue. I know Ms. Hahn's been a champion of that in trying to get, put them on the buses. Call 311. One call to City Hall. I think that's all that you have to say. And say it in multiple languages. That would be very good. And lastly, too, which is so important about technology, you got our side, the public information side, but for the employees. Make sure that and argue with us, tell us, almost develop a grading system. I was going to ask the CAO to try to create that, where you would say, compared to where we are in government, how good are we equipping our staff so they're saving time in the field. A building inspector could check it off and get it right, et cetera, and maybe come up with some grading points so we know we're going to reach a level. And what city is the best in the big cities, the top 10 big cities in the country in technology?
I think we're going to have to go area by area because there's no one that's the clear standout in everything. And certainly, one area that's interested everybody is Wi-Fi. So we can put together basically a brief assessment for you on all of the areas and where we stand.
Right. Our tickets, which are digitally done now, they don't handwrite them anymore and all that stuff. They were giving tickets out on Larchmont this morning. They're painting the lines, and they didn't have the cones in front of where they were painting, yet they had the postings. It looked like a movie company was coming. So we're asking the department to review that. And now with technology, you could say any ticket between 8:45 and 9:13 before we got there to put the cones up could be dismissed because administratively, but the DOT will handle that. But all that's important, all these departments. Anything I or my staff could do, I handle the Arts and Parks, Health and Aging Committee for the City of Los Angeles. I certainly welcome you and hope you and your family have a wonderful stay and a great career it is. And it's an honor to serve the people of Los Angeles, and I know you'll do them well from your family support. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Zine?
Thank you. I'll be very brief. Just want to welcome you and your family. It's nice to see your family join you at this occasion when you get grilled by the City Council to see if we're going to confirm you to this position. Your husband's sitting there ready to jump on us if we don't do it. I'm sure we're going to do it, sir. The mayor makes wonderful selections for these different general manager positions. This department has a representative that serves the City Council, Roger, right back here, who's not even paying attention right now, but normally he is. He's a representative from IT that takes care of our computers and all the issues. Just one thing I would alert you to is you look at the private sector where you come from, where they've got nice budgets, where they got state-of-the-art technology, and when you look at the city workforce and what they have to use, antiquated equipment, when it comes to information technology, some of the issues that, like the LAPD, the computers in the cars, which they now have a new generation of computers in the cars, but the employees that write the notes and the pads and this and that, if we can go more for computers and more to put into the system, I think it'll be a lot better for everyone, the communities that we serve. I know that we had a server that was used by 15 council officers. I understand we have our own server now, which speeds up the process. Roger informed me of that this morning. I mean, we would wait a long time to get responses on the computers because I heard we had one server servicing 15 council members. So that type of technology, which is to government new, to the private sector, old hat. But the challenges you're going to face coming to government is a whole lot different coming from NBC Universal, where they had the different philosophy, and we try to exemplify the best service we can to the people. And as far as computers, you look back at the history, everything's been paper and pen, and the archives are filled with those paper and pen documents. Hopefully we can get more into this with your experience that you bring forward to the City Council and to all the employees of the City of Los Angeles with your knowledge. And as a wildcat, if you go to Griffith Park, you'll find a lot of wildcats because of the fire. And Tom LaBonge knows, a graduate of Marshall High, the historian of the City Council, will tell you everything you need to know about Marshall High, Griffith Park, and everything else around Los Angeles. He is our historian. And that's not negative, that's positive. But she mentioned wildcats from Arizona, and I know there's wildcats up in Griffith Park, and we try to save all the animals. So welcome to the City of Los Angeles. Welcome, family, to the City of Los Angeles. And I know you'll enjoy your adventure in the City of Los Angeles, City of the Angels. So welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zine. Anybody else who wishes to be heard on this item? Seeing none, let's go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Welcome aboard. Please, round of applause for our new general manager. Mr. Clerk, next item, please.
Item 1 was called special for cards from the public.
Okay. We have 2 cards for item number 1. I'd like to ask John Peterson to come forward first. After Mr. Peterson will be Nancy Wyatt. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is John Peterson, Peterson Law Group. I'm here on behalf of Richard Rutgard, the property owner. And we're actually here to applaud you for moving forward on this. The property has been lingering under the cloud of uncertainty for the past few years, and the city's moving forward on this project at this point would remove that cloud, and we appreciate the action. So we do have a disagreement over value, but that's for a different forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Next is Nancy Wyatt.
Good morning, council members. I'm Nancy Wyatt. I'm the Land Use Chair for Historic Highland Park Neighborhood Council. Before I speak on this issue, I want to clarify that we did not receive notice in time to agendize this for our full board, but our Land Use Committee did agendize it, and we are in complete agreement that we wish to see this go through. I am here to support the council member this morning and to request your support on the purchase of the Security Pacific Bank building in Highland Park. As you know, we are a very populous community, one of the highest populations for a neighborhood council, the Historic Highland Park Council, and we desperately need to have constituency services available, and we also need office space for some of our community organizations that remain homeless as far as office space is concerned. So this has been a difficult thing. I know that it has been available to us, but each time it has been beyond our grasp. And now I would like to say that the community is very happy that we are dealing with it once again, and we're sorry that it has reached the point of eminent domain, but we have mixed feelings in that we do have hope that it will be available to our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. All right, first speaker from the council is Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President, colleagues. This is a building that's been vacant for approximately over 10 years. It's one of the beautiful bank buildings. The architect, the same architect that built the original Bank of America buildings back at the turn of the century. So it's a very historic building. It was the downtown of Highland Park throughout up to the 1970s. With the advent of the GO line being placed right behind it, given the resurgence of Highland Park, our densities are very high. There's certain sections of Highland Park where at 20,000 people per square mile. So looking at smart growth, smart use, to have city services right there will lower our traffic counts, make it much more convenient for folks who live in the Northeast to come to this place. And it would also allow for other government officials, service providers, nonprofits to be under one roof as a one-stop shop. So I encourage and I vote, and I appreciate your support on this endeavor and realize this dream of creating a centralized service center for our community in the Northeast.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. We appreciate the comments, and if nobody else wishes to be heard, let's go ahead, Madam Clerk, please, and open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Item 2 was called special by Councilmember Parks.
Mr. Parks, we have item number 2 before us.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to have the CAO-CLA come up in the mayor's office. Staff. I would just like to start off by saying thank you for the tremendous effort. Last year, I think we got this much later, and we asked you to put forth the effort this year to get it a little sooner. What the concern, I think, in the timing was that we got it while we're in the middle or getting started in the budget process, so we were not able to adequately address it until today. That's why we dealt with it on waiving it from Budget and Finance. Can you give us just an overview of the process that you went through and whether we can expect to see this maybe in the first quarter of the year before we get into budget in April, May time sequence, and then what the impact could be if we're asking to move it up earlier, and what would be some of the things the council would have to address as to amendments to a plan if it was brought earlier?
Okay, Jacqueline Wagner, CAO. The LA for Kids Steering Committee sends a report to Council annually consistent with state requirements to begin the assessment process. This assessment report addresses the administrative requirements associated with levying the assessment, transmits the draft engineer's report, and provides information about the projects to be funded in the coming year. It also lists projects proposed to be funded over the course of the next 5 years. It contains many attachments outlining a substantial amount of information. Among the actions recommended, the proposed 2007-08 Prop K assessment report includes capital improvements to parks and recreational facilities citywide to be undertaken in the coming fiscal year. Council adoption of the engineer's report, which must occur by June 30th, will levy the assessment. As to the timeline, we have typically sent it anywhere between April and June. Transmitting the complete report in March, which is what we previously discussed and have agreed to tentatively, I don't think will pose a problem or a burden on staff. There is one understanding, however, and it is that with sending forward an assessment report in March, it will still allow 90 days for some actual reconfiguration of the projects, and that is the action that would be taken, that would need to be taken by June 30th, would be any amendments, meaning reconfiguration of projects, reprogramming funds from the upcoming year to the current year, and so on.
Is that the reason that we have the A-B plan when you submit it?
Exactly. The A list, which is one of the attachments to this report, lists and identifies all of the projects and the scopes that are to be completed in the upcoming expenditure year. The B list is a list of all of the alternate projects that can be substituted for the projects on the A list, assuming that the CEQA documents have been filed and are appropriate.
Okay. But each project generally has some issue other than the funding. It may be CEQA, it might be a planning effort in another department. So all of them have their own issues as relates to going through the system.
Yes, it does.
Okay, so if we get the projects or your report done earlier, then the one potential is there may be more adjustments between, say, March to June.
Yes, sir.
But that's not unrealistic to what we've done in prior years, that we've made adjustments, maybe not through motions, but we made them in some fashion.
Exactly, sir. And in fact, we have a public hearing that's currently scheduled for June 13th. It is not uncommon to have changes between now and June 13th.
Okay.
So over a 90-day period, there will definitely be some changes.
And
but I
also,
think that we can handle it.
Also, we're dealing with a finite amount of money. It's $25 million. No matter what we do, it's a matter of shuffling within the $25 million how it will be used, not that we're asking for more money or looking for other sources.
Yes, that's correct, sir.
Okay. And so the issue that we come up with then, we had to waive it because from April through very recently, we've not had a budget and finance meeting. So if we are able to look at this, and if I understand it correctly, the most difficult coordinating part of this program is the community outreach and the community input.
Yes, and per your recommendations last year, we moved up the RVNOC Regional Volunteer Neighborhood Oversight Committee deliberations from our January to February timeframe to October to November. So with that scheduled to convene in this October, November, we should be able to meet the timeline of releasing the report by March.
Well, moving it up, did you get any less participation this year than in prior?
I'm happy to report that all of the council offices appointed at least 2 members, which is what's required. And we had a tremendous turnout and attendance by all involved. It was a really good process.
Okay. So then after the October, November, this is a matter of then the CAO, CLA's office getting together and putting together the report that would get to the council prior to March 30th.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's what we do.
Or in that area.
Within that area, we will definitely do our best to release the approved and as final a draft as possible by the end of March.
And again, as long as everybody understands that there is some flexibility between March and June of moving funds around, but again, it's a matter that getting it done early gives us more of a view of the impact on the general fund.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. I just asked that we move this report, but also ask that we give direction that in future years that the timeline to the council would be as of March 30th, well before the general fund budget comes forward.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parks. Nobody else wishes to be heard. I think it should bear up pointing out that Mr. Neil Drucker does have a pretty mean jump shot that he exhibited with a tie on at a gym opening last week, so we appreciate that. Good work. Anyhow, let's open the roll on this item, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Thank you. Next item, please.
Item 17 was called special for cards from the public.
Mr. Zuma Dog is our first speaker. Not seeing Mr. Dog here, we'll pass on, and then we'll go out to Van Nuys, and Donna Perriman is our next speaker, and then Miriam Fogler.
Say, the city council looks like they really love the waive fees. Somebody's going to have to make that up. It's not fair for the bulk of the people to pay for the events of the few, like events like the Immaculate Heart of Mary Church Annual Fiesta, Day of Pampering, St. Anthony's Annual Meeting Banquet. It's not fair that I should have to pay for something like that, because somewhere along the line it's going to come down. And then you have these Ocean 13 movie premiere and hand footprint ceremony and Corazon Bandito event and Cabana Club event, which it says the club sponsor will reimburse the city, but I don't believe it. Will they really pay it back? I guess Mr. Garcetti and Ms. Gruhl believe they will, but will you pay out of your pockets if they don't? Everyone is getting taxed out of their homes, and ULIT organizations have events that they don't have to pay for. If they can't afford it themselves, they shouldn't have the event. Why don't you have them repay with interest like credit cards? If they don't pay, we will, I know, and you will too, because somebody has to pay, and I know the city will have to pay for it. Bye.
Thank you. And just, I know Miriam Fogler is coming forward, and just, yes, as an FYI, we share that same concern, and those three items, Ocean 13, 17E, 17F, the Corazon Bandito, and the Cabana Club 17G are all being reimbursed, and when folks do not reimburse the city, it does go up there in arrears, and we take collections on that, so thank you for that concern, and we certainly share it. Miriam Fogler is our next speaker.
Thank you for the nice response. By the way, my brother is a DirecTV, so I'm hoping that he can see the city council. Getting on the fees now, let's get this organized. You know, these special fees that you charging here, make sure you can collect the fees from these vendors, from these people, because it's very important if you want to balance the books here. We have the budget coming up on 22. So I would really appreciate that, so that we don't have to impose to the public of water increases and trash fees, because after all, we are paying that in DWP. But the special fees have a big play too here, because if we don't have accountability and have an audit here and get these people to pay for these special events, we're really in trouble. Really in a lot of trouble, and especially with the CRA taking a lot of the funds from the general fund also. So we need to be balancing here, and I know the police department needs the money too, because they're having some kind of a balancing act, and it was in the paper today. So we need to be really on top of this. Thank you, Art.
Thank you very much.
Garcetti.
Appreciate it. That is our last public comment on that one. Any council members wishing to be heard? If not, let's please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Next item, please.
Item 20 was called special for cards from the public.
Okay. I was informed that the two cards we had in Van Nuys have been pulled by request from the speakers. That leaves one card here. Zuma Dog. Is he here? I do not see him still here, so we will go ahead and close the public hearing on that. Council members wishing to be heard? Seeing none. Sorry, Ms. On this item or something else? Okay. Let's go ahead and open the roll on 20, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Yes, Ms. Hahn.
Thank you. May we have item 10 forthwith to the mayor, please?
Sure. If there's no objection, we'll send 10 forthwith. Next item, please.
Item 21, called special for cards from the public.
Okay. Just have one card again, Mr. Dog. I do not see him here. Mr. Dog? Not. We'll close the public hearing. Go ahead and open the roll on 21. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Item 22 was called special for cards from the public.
Okay. Again, Mr. Dog, I do not see. And we have two cards in the valley. Miriam Fogler is our first one. Item 22.
You know, we were talking about this in the budget I think it was last week, about how much the police need the funding. And really, we do need to be funding them the same amount of money that with the officers that are leaving the department. We should be using that same money that are spending. We should be spending for the new officers to replace them. It's not right to go impose a trash fee under DWP to raise money to hire new officers and just get rid of that money that we've been using for officers we've had who are retired. Gosh, this is ridiculous. You're taking the money somewhere else and you're putting new money from getting fee collection from the ratepayers and the DWP bill. And, now you want to impose a trash fee. We already have trash fee already on DWP. I don't know what you're boondoggling around with a lot with the budget here. I see what you've done here. You go from one department, transfer money to another, and then blah, blah, blah. You need to have a straight amount of money, which each department has, and then break it down how much it is. You don't just transfer some money to another department, and then we lose where it's going. And that's very confusing to the average person. So, especially the CRA, what you're doing there is you have used block grants, you use different type of funding, and then you don't put it in with the same area where you can see everything. You need to have this all organized, and we need somebody who can do the books, the accounting that way, so it can be very simplified. Thank you.
Thank you. That closes our general. Donna Pearman is next, and then that will be our last speaker on this item. Ms. Pearman?
Okay, yes, I still love you, Mr. Garcetti. But anyway, I don't like the trash fees. I can't afford these trash fees. I can barely make it as it is. I'm staying with a friend who is letting me stay there, but if she has to go up and pay these trash fees, then of course I have to help her out and pay these trash fees. And anyway, let's see. I don't think it's fair to pass on, especially that it looks like the homeowners are getting the bulk of this. And though other people do get trash, it looks like the homeowners are going to have to take up the whole thing. So please reconsider.
Thank you. And just as a point of information, we only do collect from the homeowners and units 4 or less. That will now be before us. I'd like to call on any council members. Nope. Let's go ahead then and open the roll. Oh, Mr. Parks? Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's for another item. Okay, let's go ahead and open the roll.
We get a view from...
Oh, you on this one? Okay.
On this one, CAO...
I recognize Mr. Parks.
On 22?
Yes, 22.
Okay. We can have the staff come up just to keep us all aware of what we'll be confronted with over the next couple of days.
Thank you.
Let me start off with the CLA. Give us an overview of what we're confronted with here today, and then what are the steps after the vote?
Well, essentially what you have before you today is the actual budget resolution, which documents the actions that the council took a week from yesterday, last Monday, during your all-day budget session. This then would, if passed by the council, would go to the mayor. The mayor then has 5 working days in which to consider and sign or veto any portions of the resolution. Should the mayor veto any portions of the resolution, the council would then have 5 working days to consider any overrides of any vetoes.
Give us an idea of approximately timeline of what the 5 working days, when that would maybe fall on the council.
Well, if this passes today and goes to the mayor forthwith and gets to the mayor today, then the 5 working days would, I believe, be by the close of business next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. So that's the earliest.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, that's not the earliest. That is the deadline at which to veto.
Okay.
So the mayor could sign it this afternoon.
Okay, you could sign it, but that's the drop-dead date is next Tuesday. Right. Colleagues, I just ask that as we've gone through all these 60-plus hours of hearings and then also the full day last Monday, that we move forward on the ordinances, that also that, as stated earlier, that we cause it to go forthwith after the vote. If there are issues of major concern that someone would like to amend, what I would recommend we do it after July 1st through motions and committees so that we can address it. But today is too late in the game for our charter responsibility to dramatically alter what's before us. And so I would recommend that we move this as offered and that we also go forthwith after the vote.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. So I should receive and file my amendments then?
Until next Tuesday.
Until next Tuesday. All right. Any other council members wishing to be heard? If not, let's go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
And without objection, we will send that forthwith, number 2 as well. And that will go forthwith to the mayor. And we look forward to his signature. Next item, please.
Item 23 was called special by Councilmember Weezer.
Mr. Weezer, number 23.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. President. This is a Section 245, and I move to assert jurisdiction over this item and send it back to the Plum Committee if possible. There were some discussion as to whether what came out of the East Area Planning Commission was actually what was in the report. We want to clarify that and get the facts on the table before we approve this item.
Okay. Anybody else wishing to be heard? Let's go ahead and open the roll on Prop 245, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
And without objection, that will be sent to the Plum Committee. Thank you. Next item.
Item 24 was called special for cards from the public.
We have one public speaker card, Miriam Fogler, on number 24. Folger, excuse me. That's in Van Nuys. Do we have the connection? Hold on one moment, Miriam. We're just getting the connection. Okay. I've been informed that she's no longer there in Van Nuys, so we will go ahead and close the public hearing on that item. Any council members wishing to be heard? Seeing none, let's go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Next order of business, please.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Those are posted and referred.
The desk is clear.
All right, colleagues, now it's time for announcements. Folks have any announcements they'd like to make? Mr. LaBanche.
Memorial Day was a very good day to remember those who really gave it all to this country and their devotion of service. Like many of you, we were throughout the community at events. I was at Forest Lawn, and it was great to see soldiers from World War I all the way up to this present conflict. And the support that's necessary to help is so important. To remember those who paid the ultimate sacrifice, who lost loved ones, like the Joseph Anzac family of Torrance.
Thank you very much, Mr. LaBanche. Any other announcements, colleagues? Does anybody have any adjourning motions today? Yes, we do. If I can ask everybody in council chambers to please rise for our adjourning motions. I'd like to recognize Ms. Gruhl.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. The city family suffered a loss on May 10th, 2007. Kanam Moradian, at the age of 88. Kanam was born in 1918 in Aleppo, Syria. She moved to Beirut, Lebanon at an early age with her family and moved to Mosul, Iraq at the age of 45 with her husband, Hartoun Zorlian. Her husband died within a few years of their move, so she returned to Beirut to be with her sister's family. She was closest with Andre, Bedig, and Nasik. Kanem spent her time in Beirut helping families and young individuals who were refugees from Iraq. She would assist them in adjusting to life in Beirut, helping them to find food and housing. Her generosity extended to non-refugees as well. In 1983, she left Beirut to come to Southern California to live with her nephew, Andre, and niece, Nazig, and their daughter, Salpi. Kanem was down-to-earth and a giving individual. She taught others the importance of family and the value of sensitivity towards other people's needs. She will be missed and remembered fondly for her honesty, courage, kindness, and love. She is survived by her nephew, Andre, and her nieces, Nasik and Salpi. Ask that we adjourn in her memory.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gruhl. Are there other adjourning motions? If not, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
We have a group here.
We'll next be in session tomorrow. That is the 30th of May here at 10 a.m. in City Council chambers. Until then, the Los Angeles City Council is adjourned. Have a great day.